Hey everyone, is there really going to be some kind of great falling away near the end of time, as so many people believe? Let's look into it. Shalom everybody, and welcome to Beit Tefillah. I'm sure we've all heard about this great falling away that's supposed to happen near the end of time. I've heard a lot of Christians say that since so many people are leaving the Christian faith these days, that this must be that great falling away that's supposed to take place. But how much truth is there to this theory or this way of thinking? Well, the whole idea of this falling away comes from only a single verse written by Paul in the fictitious New Testament, and I'll go ahead and read that now, in 2 Thessalonians 2 verse 3. Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come, except there come a falling away first, and the man of lawlessness is to be revealed, the son of destruction. So in context, what Paul is saying is this Yeshua guy, well, he can't come back until this great falling away happens, and also the man of lawlessness, or the son of destruction, is supposed to show up first, and a lot of people believe that to be the Antichrist. However, where is anything like that mentioned in the Tanakh? Nowhere. There's no Yeshua, there's no second coming, and there's no Antichrist. Nowhere. As far as the whole idea of some kind of Antichrist showing up, I did this video a while back entitled Why the Antichrist is Fictitious, and I will add a link to that video below. That's a good one to watch if you haven't watched it yet, because it dispels a lot of this stuff that a lot of people are afraid of, or a lot of people are assuming is going to happen. Even those who have come away from the New Testament messianic idolatry, they still hang on to some of that stuff, like the great falling away, and that's what we're talking about today. A lot of this stuff is just so far removed from what Elohim delivered to us that it's ridiculous. Let's remember that churchianity is lawless, and those who believe in the New Testament and its Messiah are in idolatry, so the people involved or believing in these doctrines are not in Elohim's covenant in the first place. A lot of them say they are, and a lot of them try to teach the covenant, but I'm sorry, if you can't get past the first commandment, you're not in covenant. That's like the very first step, okay? And ironically, those that believe in the letters of Paul and in the New Testament and follow its Messiah are believing in doctrines written by those who had fallen away from Elohim's word a long time ago, or those who had never really followed it. They just kind of brought over a lot of pagan beliefs. So they may be pagans and then they're Christians, which they're still not doing what Elohim said because they're lawless. And there's a lot of people who claim to have come out of Christianity, but if you believe in a Messiah, you're still doing what makes Christians Christian. You're believing in an idol. Here's a warning that Elohim gave his people if they fell into idolatry, written in Deuteronomy 4:27. And Yahweh shall scatter you among the people, and you shall be left few in number among the nations where Yahweh drives you. Let's hear a few verses that precede that verse, starting with Deuteronomy 4:15-16. Therefore diligently guard yourselves, for you saw no form when Yahweh spoke to you at Oreb out of the midst of the fire, lest you should do corruptly, and shall make for yourselves a carved image in the form of any figure, the likeness of male or female. So why didn't Elohim let anyone see his form? Because he knew that they would make a carved figure and worship it. Deuteronomy 4:23, guard yourselves lest you forget the covenant of Yahweh your Elohim, which he made with you, and shall make for yourself a carved image in any form. So churchianity and messianics who are embedded in idolatry are afraid that there's going to be a falling away from what they believe when they believe and do exactly what Elohim said not to do. Let's read another warning, this time from Deuteronomy 13:1-5. When there arises among you a prophet or a dreamer of dreams, and he shall give you a sign or a wonder, and the sign or the wonder shall come true, of which he has spoken to you, saying, let us go after other mighty ones which you have not known, and serve them. Do not listen to the words of that prophet or that dreamer of dreams, for Yahweh your Elohim is testing you to know whether you love Yahweh your Elohim with all of your heart and with all of your being. Walk after Yahweh your Elohim, and fear him, and guard his commands, and obey his voice, and serve him, and cling to him. And that prophet or that dreamer of dreams is put to death, because he has spoken apostasy against Yahweh your Elohim, who brought you out of the land of Egypt and ransomed you from the house of bondage, to make you stray from the way in which Yahweh your Elohim commanded you to walk. Thus you shall purge the evil from your midst. What absolutely slays me is there's a lot of Messianic Torah teachers that use Deuteronomy chapter 13 to try to validate their New Testament idol. That chapter was put there so nobody would fall for something like a New Testament idol. The preachers in churchianity, along with the Messianic Torah teachers, cause people to fall away from Elohim's covenant, or they keep them from coming into covenant in the first place by pushing their doctrines of idolatry. Let's think back to Noah's time, and there was just one guy that was righteous. That's it. I guess there had been a major falling away before that, but that expression had not been used in the Tanakh. Let's read Genesis 6, 5-8. And Yahweh saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every inclination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. And Yahweh was sorry that he made man on the earth, and he was grieved in his heart. And Yahweh said, I am going to wipe off man whom I have created from the face of the ground, both man and beast, creeping creature and birds of the heavens, for I am sorry that I have made them. But Noah found favor in the eyes of Yahweh. This is the genealogy of Noah. Noah was a righteous man, perfect in his generations, and Noah walked with Elohim. So, just Noah was righteous. That's it. So had there been a falling away back then? Well, let's read the verse right before that passage in Genesis 6:4. The Nephilim were on the earth in those days, and also afterward, when the sons of Elohim came into the daughters of men, and they bore children to them. Those were the mighty men who were of old, the men of name. What I just read came from the ISR translation of the Bible, which has Nephilim, obviously, when most all other translations, instead of Nephilim, they use the word giants. The problem with that is that Nephilim in Hebrew does not mean giants. Nephilim is a plural word from the singular nephel, which means one who fell. It comes from the Hebrew word nephal, which means to fall, so Nephilim means the fallen ones. A lot of people incorrectly assume that the Nephilim were fallen angels that mated with human women, which is absolutely ridiculous. Angels coming down from heaven and mating with human women is about as pagan as one can get. Notice in Genesis 6 verse 4 it says, those were the mighty men who were of old, the men of name. Men in that verse comes from the Hebrew word ish, which means man or men. Angel or messenger comes from the Hebrew word malach, which isn't used at all in Genesis chapter 6. As a matter of fact, we don't see the first mention of the word malach until Genesis chapter 16. So it isn't fallen angels. That's not what is being talked about here. Okay, that's not what it is. Now, there were very large men in Scripture, such as Goliath and his brothers. Okay, but they weren't called Nephilim, and that isn't what was being referred to as the Nephilim in Genesis chapter 6. Not giants. I know that's what a lot of translations of today say, but that's inaccurate. Remember how long people lived way back in the day? How old like Adam was and Cain? How old these people got? Methuselah lived to be almost 1,000 years old. Nephilim were simply men of old who had lived a very long time. They may have walked with Elohim when they were younger, or they may never have and were just fallen as into sin, but they were just grabbing wives of these men, of whoever they wanted, and making them have kids, and their thoughts were only evil continually, as Elohim said, and that's why he destroyed the earth. I know a lot of people are going to have problems with what I just said, is they're used to the English translation of the word giants, and they love to think about all their fantasy stories about, oh, Nephilim are just fallen angels, or they're demons, or they're aliens from outer space, and they're coming to get... I don't know what they're thinking, but when you study the Hebrew, it's not giants. It's men who were fallen into sin, and there's no such thing as fallen angels. That's also as pagan as can be, okay? It's easy to find out once you just do a little Hebrew study and look into it. All throughout the Tanakh, Elohim warns us what will happen if we ignore his word. We're promised blessings if we obey, and curses if we don't. There were accounts of righteous people and accounts of wicked people. The righteous are only a remnant, when the wicked always seems to be the majority. Deuteronomy 7:7. Yahweh did not set his love on you, nor choose you, because you were more numerous than any other people, for you were the least of all people. There have always been those in covenant, and those who are not. Those who have stood with Elohim during their entire lifetimes for thousands and thousands of years, while sadly, most did not. The greatest number of people have fallen or are already fallen away from Elohim. And for many millennia, there always have been. Some people notice as they watch or they go through our list of videos that we're dispelling a lot of these Christian fallacies and doctrines of religion one by one. These things from organized religion, such as this falling away that I've done in this video. And other videos on topics such as the devil, the Antichrist, the mark of the beast, demons, baptism, communion, heaven, hell, the Melchizedek priesthood, Noahide laws, this New Testament Messiah, and on and on. When these doctrines are held up to the Word in the Tanakh, they just completely fall apart. And I know at times it's a lot to digest and process, but we're on a path. This is a journey to find the truth. We're always going to be learning, at least we should be, as we walk away from lies and deception. I don't know how much time is left, but I'm very grateful to Elohim for giving us the time to have come away from as much deception as we have. So thanks for watching, everybody, and thanks for being a part of Beit Tefillah. Shalom to all my brothers and sisters who are Yisrael and scattered worldwide in the dispersion. Everybody be blessed and have a wonderful day.